So I might have gone to a fiber festival. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from Crochet Creations, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I love to talk about all things yarn, whether knitting or crochet, fiber arts in general. I love to do product reviews, vlogs, podcasts like these. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would love to have you stick around here. So make sure to like this video and comment down below on anything you saw that you want to chat with me about. That's my favorite part about this community, is getting to grow relationships online. I think that's awesome. And also let me know down below if there's anything else that you want to see from me and my channel. Then don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification to be notified every time I post a new video, because things are a little bit sporadic around here. With my full-time job and having a toddler at home, I post when I can, but usually it's a couple times a month. Today we are here for episode 31 of the Crochet and Knitting podcast. Super exciting. We are chugging along, and basically today I'm talking about everything that I made, that I worked on, that I purchased in April of this year. So it adds up to a lot, 4 to 5 weeks of making. So let's get right into it. A couple of quick news items. Really quick, a reminder, I had a pattern published in Crochet Foundry's April magazine this year, which is the garden bed blanket design. It uses intarsia crochet and some spike stitches for a really fun time with color play and stash busting. Honestly, you could use as few or as many colors as you want. If you are interested in purchasing that digital magazine, 6 patterns for... If you are interested in purchasing that magazine issue, it is 6 patterns for $8. So it's an amazing deal. And there's a large variety of size inclusive crochet patterns in it. There's also links down below if you want to purchase the whole spring bundle of 3 different magazines together. Or you can also purchase a yearly subscription, which has other benefits like getting a free furls crochet hook and a tote bag, I think, and a couple other cool benefits from doing the subscription. Just a reminder that that is still relevant, I feel like, as we are still in spring. But let's move on to something that's a little bit more current. I'm participating in the Spring into Summer blog hop that's hosted by Hand Jam Crochet, Itchin' for Some Stitchin', and Ned and Mimi, all crochet blogs. And starting on May 1st and running through June 2nd, we are featuring a different crochet design intended for these warmer months as we are moving into summer. And so there's all sorts of things. There's garments, shawls, home decor, toys, accessories, all sorts of things. So there's links down below so you can check out my blog post and kind of learn more about what a blog hop is and how you can get a free pattern every single day for the blog hop duration, as well as links to the host blog that you can check out so you can actually get those coupon codes and get linked to those designs, as well as a link for purchasing the pattern bundle if you don't want to go through the effort of hopping between blogs, collecting coupon codes every single day to get all these patterns, or if you missed a few days, or if you're just not up to doing all that, even though it's not a ton of work, but remembering to do it every day can kind of be a pain, honestly. If you don't want to do that, or if you really want to support these makers financially, then something that you can do is purchase the pattern bundle, which has all 33 patterns together for $15.99. So it's an amazing deal. It's like less than 50 cents a pattern. So even if there's just a handful of patterns that caught your eye, this bundle is a great deal. And so my links are down below so you can check that out and learn more about the blog hop and what that means. Basically, you just collect your coupon code from the host blog page and then go to the designer's blog to get linked to the pattern page where you can make that download. My day is not until June 1st. I'm trying to share daily the different designs that are being featured. So check out my Instagram at Crochet Creations and you can follow along my stories and see the designs that are available, get linked to the host blog to find those coupon codes and get your daily free pattern. All right, with all the news stuff out of the way, let's move into finished objects because I've got a lot right now. First and foremost, I want to share my ranunculus. So this is using Treehouse Knits yarn. The color is I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer from their Stranger Things collection. and it's in their organic non-superwash merino in the DK base. I got those words mixed up, but that's the yarn that I use, and it gave it more of a muted color scheme compared to some of the superwash colors, and I thought it would still work really well for a textured design, and I still think so. I think it's perfect. I adore this sweater, shirt, whatever you want to call it. So this pattern is by Midori Hirose, and it is very flexible in your gauge, in that you can use anything from like a lace weight or fingering weight yarn all the way up to a worsted, it says in the pattern. I use DK and I really like the fabric that it gave me. Definitely it's pretty thick. It'd be kind of fun to try fingering weight and see how that as like more of a loose and breezy top would be. Also, it's a cropped length and sleeve variation, so you can kind of mix it up however you want to. I only had 2 skeins of this yarn because I was being cheap. And so I literally used up all my yarn. I think I have like 2 grams left. It's definitely not worth ripping back my bind off, trying to add like 1 more row. I just want to show you, I really use up like all that yarn. So let's take a look. It does not match my pants. I love this texture. It was so fun to work this yoke. It had a perfect blend of different types of texture and lace and stockinette, so it really flew off the needles, especially at such a large gauge that it was written for. And then I really just went until I was basically done with the yarn I had, and then I undid my gauge swatch and I used my gauge swatch to add just a few more rows to the sleeves. I do feel like I wish the sleeves, I think they look great. They're a great length, but I kind of wish they were just a smidge longer. I also wish that the body in general was a smidge longer, but I've still gotten some use out of it. I have found that my leggings and my bike shorts and the skirt that I have all are high enough waisted to not show my stomach if I am wearing this top, which is like the level of modesty that I wanted. And so I still have some options for things to wear. And I've also worn it with my jeans, but with like an undershirt underneath, just so if I'm like lifting my arms, you see it like pulls up a lot, that it's not showing my abdomen. So I love it. I would tweak it a little bit if I had more yarn to tweak it with, but I adore it. It is perfect. I wore it to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair that I went to just the other day, and it was so fun to be able to wear something hand knit that wasn't like a big bulky sweater. It's still a DK weight merino, so it's still a little warm. At this moment, I'm feeling warm. I don't know why I was feeling cold earlier, but I'm getting worked up, I guess, from filming my podcast. So I would probably change into this if I was feeling this warm all the time, but I think that once I'm done with my video, then things will kind of calm down and I won't feel the need to change. It is DK weight, so it's not something that I'll want to wear into the heat of summer, but it's perfect for right now, and I'm looking forward to being able to wear it as the weather cools down again too. So I'm just enjoying it as much as I can now. I love it. I think I did the second size, which is smaller than the recommended ease, just because I like a slightly tighter ease. There's still quite a bit of ease. There's like maybe 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches of ease on me, and the pattern recommends I think like 10 inches or something. So I sized down a little bit, and I really love the fit. Honestly, I really want to make another one, maybe do like a 3/4 length sleeve, maybe use a thinner yarn. I'm not quite sure, but I really love it. And I get the hype. I like waited so long. At first I was putting it off because I was like, everyone's doing one. And then came to my attention that it wasn't very size inclusive. And so I put it off still. I was like, no, I want to wait till it has been resized. And then it was resized. And then it was popular again. And I really didn't want to just jump on the bandwagon, but I did, and I love it. And I will definitely make more. Immediately after I finished this, I wanted to cast on another. So that'll tell you something about this. It took me, just a week to knit this. And last podcast, I was like binding off the bottom and I still had to do the sleeves, I think, if I remember correctly. So I finished it that same day that I filmed my last podcast, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I've got a bunch of other smaller FOs to share. We'll start off with this one. This is a mini yarn cozy crochet version. It's the ribbed 20 gram version. I used, what was it called? Manos del Uruguay in the base Alegria. The color is called Aloha. I made a pair of socks out of this, and so this was a scrap that I had around. And I can't remember how much yarn I used. Definitely less than 20 grams. Maybe like 10 or 11 grams of yarn. I can't quite remember. But I tested this pattern for Natalie of Knitty Natty of Love and Stitches. I guess she is Natalie of both of those things. But I tested this pattern and it worked up really quick. I wanted to do the rib version because I don't do a lot of crochet ribbing, and I thought it would be fun to try. Especially because mostly when I've done ribbing, it's been like you work back and forth like in the back loops of something, whereas this was made with post stitches. So the ribbing was made around like you would if you were knitting ribbing. So it's a little bit different construction for me, so that was cool. I also learned how to do this crochet I-cord, which was new for me. That was really neat to be able to learn how to do that. It was kind of fiddly. It felt like it took forever, but definitely worth it. And it was really fun to test. Natalie is a great designer and she's a great maker to work with, and so I really enjoy testing patterns for her. I have that. I want to make more. She's doing like a cozy make along. She has knit and crochet cozy patterns in small and larger sizes, so there's a lot of variety. There's also some like can and bottle ones too if you don't want to make yarn cozies specifically, but I definitely want to participate. I am not quite sure if I want to crochet another one to kind of match this, or if I wanted to start knitting some cozies. Probably knitting. I have a lot of scraps from sock yarn, so it'd be really fun to kind of showcase some scraps I really love in some yarn cozies that I can put to good use. I also finished my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks for, what month is it? April. This is the color called Succulents, and I used mint for the toe and the heel. And last podcast, I filmed it like a few days into April. I had finished one sock, but I finished the other one. These flew off my needles because I worked on them whenever I had classes and trainings for work, and they just worked up so fast. It was really nice to just have a pair of vanilla socks that worked up in less than 2 weeks to just kind of knock it out, because it's just been a while since I've knit some vanilla socks and I just needed it. I love these colors. It's cool to see how like the greens kind of fade as well as the pinks kind of fade too. I don't know, it's really cool. And I have a few succulents that I have purchased recently in my home, and so it was really fun to take some photos with some succulents and my socks together, just to kind of stage photos a little bit. I had a lot of fun. I'm getting ready to cast on my socks for May, but I think what I'm gonna do is hold my yarn double to do kind of like a marled DK weight sock, because those will work up even faster, even more satisfying than these were. I just like don't have a lot of brain capacity and energy to do something complicated right now. I need lots of easy knitting. Things are still kind of in flux with work and stuff. My husband's schedule is getting better, but now my daughter's sick, my husband's sick, I might be getting sick, I don't know. I'm feeling really tired and a little sore and achy today, so we'll see. I just want some easy knitting to do. Something on my needles at all times, of course. So I gotta be prepared, but it needs to be simple. I guess if you're interested, my sock formula, I usually like to do Xiaogu Magic Loop US 1 needles, because that way I don't have as much of a hard time working on a heel, because you had all those extra stitches for the heel and the gusset. So it's nice to have a little bit extra space on your cord. And also I don't have to switch out for the toe. I can just use the same, Alfred, excuse you. I can use the same cord throughout the whole sock. I don't have to switch. If I were to do 9-inch circulars, I would have to switch to a different type of needle to do the toe. So I like doing Magic Loop Xiaogu US 1. And what I usually do is a 20 round cuff. And then I usually do like a 30 round leg. I think I did a 40 round leg on these socks because I was just feeling it. I do a heel flap and gusset, nothing crazy. And then I decrease every other round for the gusset. I've been doing like a 40 round foot, and then I do a modified wedge toe. So the first half of my wedge toe, I do every other round I decrease, and then for the last like 5 or 6 rounds, I decrease every round. That's my vanilla sock formula. I just feel really comfortable knitting vanilla socks. So it's nice to be able to have like a mindless knitting project like that that still involves different constructions and different things that I can be doing throughout the pattern geometrically. So it's still interesting. And then the last FO that I have to share with you is a very last minute FO. It is still blocking that I finished this morning. I finished my Heartsplosion socks. Yay! I have this sock that's been, it looks kind of smaller. Uh-oh. I hope that that's just because this one is like wet and drying and this one has been crumpled inside my bag. I did knit them separate technique-wise, so just because I was trialing it, but maybe I shouldn't have done that. So this is the Heartsplosion sock pattern by Alindria Knits. And this is a pattern I tested way back in like January. And I finished one sock by the deadline. That is the sock. And then I've just slowly been working on this sock very, very, very slowly. So I use my 2 colors. I've got, I think this is like Coal Forge or Iron Forge or something like that. It's a Cascade Heritage sock color. It's like a charcoal gray. And then this contrast color, the variegated, is from Woolberry Fabric Co. and it's Shop Around the Corner. Super cute. But yeah, now I'm a little nervous. So for this sock, what I did, the very first sock, you can see there's some puckering in between the front and the back. You can feel it very much so, but that's because I use magic loop. I felt like I might pull my stitches too tight if I used a 9-inch circular, so I used magic loop, and then I got some edge puckering. So I decided for my second sock to use a 9-inch circular to avoid that puckering, and I think that it worked great at avoiding that puckering, though now I'm worried after I'm looking at it that this sock might be bigger than this sock. It's a little hard to tell now, especially because I just blocked it. So we'll see. I might need to throw this in the dryer for a little bit and see if that kind of like helps. They are superwash yarns, so it's not like I can shrink it like a ton, but maybe if it like heats up, it can kind of like tighten up a little bit. Now I'm nervous. Yeah-oh. So I'm holding this on. Can you see that difference? I tried to line it up. Oh no, it definitely is bigger. So we'll see. I'm not knitting this again, so maybe I'll just have like one bigger sock. Maybe I will try to shrink this one a little bit. So if you knit 2 different socks that are meant to go together, knit them the same way so that they match gauge-wise. I did a better job with the floats. I did the checkered back knitting technique. That's what it's called. So I think I did better. It's not quite as lumpy on this sock, but that means everything is just looser in general. C'est la vie. We'll see how these turn out, and maybe I'll try to figure out a way to just shrink this a smidgen. Maybe I should just throw in the dryer right now while it's still a little wet. Okay, so I just threw my wet, newly blocking sock into the dryer for 10 minutes, so we shall see what happens. Worst case scenario is it shrinks a ton, which is kind of unlikely because it's superwash yarn and it's only going in for 10 minutes. Or I guess the other hand, the worst case scenario is like nothing happens. It gets dry, but it doesn't shrink at all. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I do know that the first sock fits me, but I wanted to try to do better on my second sock, and I think I did, but I think I might have done too better. But I might have done too loose. It took me like 2 months to knit the second sock. I just didn't really want to do it. I had other things that were more important. Color work can feel a little finicky to be messing around with, so it just hadn't happened right away, and so I'm sure that didn't help with my gauge issues. We shall see. Okay, editing Emily here with an update. So I put the sock through the dryer for about 10 minutes during my episode. Sorry, I just ran up the stairs, so I'm out of breath. So I just put it in for another 15 minutes. It's definitely a little bit smaller. If I superimpose these socks together,
it's basically the same size on the blocker. Yeah, so I feel like it worked out pretty good. I'm not sure if the changes from putting it in the dryer are gonna last. Like, I don't know if with wear it'll loosen up a lot, but for right now, they are back to being about the same size as they should be. So it was a success.
Since we're all done talking about FOs, let's talk about some whips while we are waiting to see how that sock turns out. Okay, I have surprisingly few whips, to be honest. I finished some things. I have fewer commitments going on right now, so hopefully I can get some other fun things done that I want to do. This is a pattern test that I am doing. This is my last pattern test. It's due in just a couple days. I just barely finished the knitting on this sock today, and so after I weave in ends and block it, I should hopefully get my notes in and then be done with this and have to cast on the next sock actually. Cannot forget to do that. Kind of knock it out. This is for Georgia. You'll notice this is a lot smaller, though it is like a slightly bigger size than what she wears now because I wanted her to be able to grow into it. So I'm sure I can have made the size smaller and it would fit her now, but for longevity, because my child is growing rapidly. So I decided to do this one, and it might be a little bit long. I might have to like undo some of the toe and re-knit it a little bit, but it's just kind of hard to measure how long do I think my child's foot will be when the girth of their foot fits the sock well. I just don't know. I can always go back and fix it, but you'll notice I have a bunch of different minis. A few of them came together, but a few of them were separate. Actually, I think all of these came together. All of these colors came in the same package. This sock is the All Together Now sock by Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. And she's just started diving into the realm of sock patterns, which is really fun because I love me some socks, and color work is fun to do, even if it takes a little bit of finagling, like to make it turn out right. Like, it definitely is a different type of skill set than regular knitting is. But for the main color, I use like a Regia, just like a white color, and it's a fingering weight. It's not like how Patton's Croy says it's a fingering and it's actually like a sport weight. This is still a fingering weight, but it's definitely a more plump fingering weight. And so compared to these other ones, which I think are like a 75-25 blend, I could definitely tell knitting with it that they were different thicknesses. But these are all, let's see, the purple, the orange, and the pink are all minis in a mystery bundle that I got from Daisy Stitch Co. And the yellow was also from a mystery bundle from Daisy Stitch Co. that I purchased at the same time, but it was a 50-gram skein. So that's what these are. And it's just a really fun way to throw in a bunch of scraps, and I actually really like how it turned out. I honestly think it fits my daughter really well. Thematically, her due date was on Halloween, and she actually likes a lot of spooky stuff like spiders and ghosts and cats and pumpkins. Like, for some reason, she's just a spooky baby. So having like the orange and purple together is nice. And then I feel like the yellow and pink are like her colors because she's very like warm skin tone and like light. She has like white blonde hair, so I feel like these colors kind of fit my daughter. So we'll see how she likes them. She hasn't like seen them yet. I do need to make the second sock first, and I have to weave in some ends. I've woven in like 3, and there's still a lot left. So we'll see how long it takes me, but I think that'll be like a task today, is to work on weaving in the ends and kind of knocking it out so I can block this sock and get ready to finish my pattern test so that the second sock can be done at my leisure, which may take me 2 months. Who knows? Just like my last test knit that I only had to do 1 pair for. Man, that colorwork sock test knits are slowing me down, I think. But I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I may have to pull back the toe a little bit. We'll see kind of how it fits my daughter now, girth wise, and I just might need to make it a little shorter. I'm not quite sure, but that's an easy fix to make. Another pattern I've been working on is from my husband, his cardigan. It's called the Viking cardigan. Ta-da! This front panel goes on this side. The front panel is the start of the armhole. So you'll see the texture is really cool. If you haven't seen it before on my channel, it's got like these cables and then stockinette section, so it's kind of like patchwork style. So I've finished the back panel already. I've got both front panels on my needle, though they're not done, but they are at like the same point at the armpit. One of them I started knitting up and doing the armhole shaping. Now I need to like do some math and figure out how many more rows I need to do to match it to the back panel, and then based on that number of rows I'll like knit straight, and then I'll do like this little bit of shoulder shaping, and then I need to keep track of those numbers so I can transfer it over to the other front panel. So honestly, I've gotten a good chunk of it done, and I was happy to be able to come back to this, though I definitely need to sit down and do a little bit more planning to move on to the next step and make sure that I can transfer that to the second front panel so that they match perfectly and that they match with the back panel. So I've kind of dragged my feet on it recently just because I haven't had the brain space to do that math, but it wouldn't be too hard. So maybe if I finish this podcast and my daughter's still napping, I can work on that. So yeah, made a little bit of progress, not a lot, but I think it was just about at the armhole shaping. So I did a good chunk, and this didn't take very long. That's the nice part about front panels for a cardigan. They're a lot shorter width-wise than doing the whole back panel, so it goes faster. Okay, my final whip is one that I've talked to you about that I just barely cast on. Last time I had done a swatch, but this time I cast it on and that's all I did. Well, okay, I did like a couple rows, not very many. I need to change out these stitch markers because my needles are just barely they're like exactly the same size as these jump rings, which means that they don't slide on very easily, and so it just kind of like is a big hang up. So I need to switch out my markers and then I'll be able to cruise. This is the Oat Sweater by This Bird Knits, and I'm using Teeny Button in the color Bartok. It's a very, very pale, warm, lavender lilac-y color, more of a lilac. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it turns out. Most of our days this month have been like in the 60s or 70s. Granted, it's only May like 5th right now. I probably won't get a lot of wear out of this, but I'm hoping I can just kind of chug along. The color's perfect for spring, and it would still work for a cooler evening, so maybe I can get a wear or two out of it if I finish it fast enough. This sweater only took me a week, so maybe if I like actually get on this sweater, I can knock it out pretty quickly. It's a pretty big gauge. It's the same gauge as this sweater, so really I just need to set my mind to it and work on it, and I think I could do it in like 2 weeks if I really wanted to. But yeah, I need to switch out the markers and kind of get a move on. It's not in the round yet. I work just back and forth, and then I'll join it, and then I will start working in the round. So I'm not sure if that means it'll have like a little button feature to like kind of hold the back of the neck together. We'll see. I'm just kind of going row by row and kind of seeing how it turns out. So this is bringing me a lot of joy, though I need to like actually sit down and enjoy it rather than just staring at it, thinking about it. I accidentally signed up for like 3 test knits last month, and so it just got really busy with obligations, so I haven't been able to do as much fun knitting. I've also got a couple more obligation things, some secret design projects, and by next podcast you will hear about both of them. It's a knit design and a crochet design that coordinate with one another, and I'm super excited to see it come together, though it is taking some brain power, and I am trying to make them coordinate and match as best as I can, and so that's been a little bit tricky to make sure I figure out how to do that well so that what I'm trying to do on both patterns translates well across to the other pattern, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to do these 2 patterns, a knit and a crochet one, in tandem so I can make sure that they match visually, so that whether you're a knitter or crocheter or both, that you can get the same style of pattern for this item. That's all I'm gonna say, but you will hear more about it. I think I'm gonna do a test call on June 1st, so keep an eye out on my Instagram to learn more about that, and you can also sign up for my newsletter. I'll leave the link down below so that you can be notified about those test calls as well and learn more about that exciting new project when I can actually share it with you, because right now it's hush hush. So I've got a lot of yarn. mail yarn, Fiber Festival yarn. So I've got a lot to go through. And honestly, I've been trying to track my yarn in and out every single month. And for the first like 20 days of April, I was like par on par. I had like 6 in and 6 out. It was doing awesome. And then all of a sudden I wasn't. And I got a whole lot more yarn, but I'm happy to share with you what I've got, what's bringing me joy in this yarn, and some plans and things that I have in mind. I think the hard part about my job, now that I'm starting to work full-time again, and I do have a toddler at home, is just now I have more money for yarn, but even less time for yarn. So it's kind of a catch-22, but I'm happy to support small businesses, and I feel blessed that I can do so. And so I would love to share with you some of the things that have come into my maker life recently. Okay, this one, I love it. I love it so much, but it also makes me sad, and I'll tell you the story why. So a bunch of designers got together to do some special Pi Day yarn colorways, and I was keeping tabs on all these yarns and all the ideas that people were sharing to kind of watch for the actual reveals of the yarn. I was on the edge of my seat, and the one that I fell in love with the most was from a British dyer, I think they're from England, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so I was a little bit reluctant. I kind of dragged my feet because I didn't want to pay so much for shipping, but I really love this sock set, and so I really wanted it. And then I finally just broke down when they said like, okay, all of our ready to ship is gone, but we have a pre-order open. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it because I really want it. So I ordered, but I made a mistake. I thought I was ordering the whole sock set, and I only ordered a single skein. So when it came in the mail, I literally cried because I was so looking forward to getting the full sock set, and that my past self messed up so much. Like, I ordered the wrong thing. It's all on me. But it made me so sad that I had been looking forward to getting the sock set, and I got the skein, the single skein. It's beautiful, but it just tore my heart because I didn't get what I had thought was coming for like a month and a half. It made me so sad. I'm kind of over it now, but it just made me sad, and I couldn't like go back and order like another sock set. They didn't have that pre-order open anymore. So live and you learn. It makes me sad, but I love the skein, but it makes me sad. It's from the Fiber Fox. It's Blueberry Pie, and the set, I'll see if I can pop a picture up right there, but it was gonna have like this graham cracker brown color and this purpley blue color for blueberry, so it was gonna have 2 mini skeins with it. So sad. I had like a plan. I was like, I'm gonna make the toe in the graham cracker color and the heel in the graham cracker color, and I'll make the cuff in the purple so it looks kind of like graham cracker crust on the bottom and then like blueberry garnish on top. Like, I had a whole plan for it. I was gonna do the piece of the pie sock pattern by my friend Kimber of Kimber's Cozy Creations, but this color's so beautiful and so yummy. I just want to have like blueberry cheesecake. Yeah, it looks like blueberry cheesecake to me, not blueberry pie, but I love blueberry cheesecake, so I don't even care. So beautiful. So yes, it's beautiful and I love it, but it makes me sad because I messed up and I ordered the wrong thing, and so I spent forever expecting a full sock set. And when it came in the mail and it wasn't that, I cried. Have you ever cried about yarn? Please tell me so I don't feel alone, because it feels silly. It's not that important, but for some reason it just like was meaningful to me, and it made me really sad. Some more happy yarn purchases that didn't make me sad when they came in the mail. This is Treehouse Knits, The Midnight Children, and I can't remember what the collection is called. Maybe Riverdale? I can't remember. They do a lot of pop culture references, and the past few collections have not been ones that I feel a connection to per se, but I love their dyeing style and their colorways, so I still have purchased. This is the organic sock non-superwash. So again, with the non-superwash from Treehouse Knits. Midnight Children, it's like this really moody, like it's got mauves and pinks and browns and grays. Really pretty. I don't know what I'm gonna make. I got free skeins. See, that's a problem with now that I have a job. Well, okay, maybe it's not a problem, but previously I've just purchased like sock sets or sock skeins because I know I can put them to good use, but I've got like a lot of sock skeins now, and I'm not gonna make that many socks anytime soon. So I'm trying to branch out and make different things. And so I bought enough of this color to make a top. I'm not sure what I'm gonna make. It would feel a little silly to make another ranunculus in this because it's, again, non-superwash yarn from Treehouse Knits, though it's a different base and I have more of it, so I could definitely do like a longer sleeve one, so maybe that's what I'll do. But I bought this without knowing what I'm gonna do, some kind of like a lighter weight top, or maybe if I find a sturdier mohair I want to hold with it, I'll hold double, but probably I'll just make like a top with this fingering weight yarn. But again, no plan. It's just is really pretty. Look at that. And then I got a really fun package from my mom. She ordered me a couple sock sets from Sorella Yarn from their Disneyland collection. This whole year they're doing like greatest hits. So they're bringing back collections at a time so that you can reorder things. So she bought me a couple sock sets as a surprise, which is so fun. I did not expect that. It's just really nice. My mom asked me previously, like, oh, are you getting anything from this collection? And I'm like, I don't think so right now. I love like everything, but there's nothing in particular that's standing out to me, so I don't think I'll purchase from this round. So she bought me a couple things and she didn't tell me until it showed up at my door, and she texted me and said, I don't know if you've gotten the mail yet, or like, I don't know if you've checked the mail yet, but there's a surprise for you. And I'm like, well, now I'm gonna check the mail. I happen to be home, which was handy. But my mom ordered me, this is the Main Street sock set, and this one is Pirates of the Caribbean. The collection is Disneyland, Disney World, Disney? I'm not sure. Anyway, something to do with Disney. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's Disney World because they're from North Carolina, so definitely closer to Disney World. But yeah, I love these colors. I don't have plans for them, but just a super fun surprise. And I think my mom nailed it for these colors. I love them so much. This one makes me think of cotton candy. Yum. And then I had one more package that I ordered. This one was from Woolberry Fabric Co. These are all from the Anna Green Gables collection. This is Raspberry Cordial. Is this a tonal or variegated? I don't know. It's like, it's hard to tell because there's some parts where I'm like, wow, that's like a lot lighter. I think it's just a tonal, but I love this color. It looks so yummy. And my intention was to pair it with this, which is Flower Crown, which has like flecks of like more pinky, beigey colors. Yeah, you can see like kind of, oh yeah. Underneath the tag, there's a lot more. So that makes me feel better. So I think that these would look really good in like a high contrast something, maybe like a brioche something or whatnot. There's a lot of speckles that are like multiple colors in here, more so than I had thought when I was purchasing online. So it kind of reminds me of Very Woolberry, actually. Very Woolberry, the base is more pink in general rather than having these pink streaks. So definitely different, but we'll see kind of how these go together. I don't think I would like this color by itself, to be honest, but I think having it contrasting with the Raspberry Cordial, I think I'll still really like it. And then this is a non-superwash yarn, Very Natural, 100% non-superwash merino. Nice and soft. This is the color A World with Octobers. I really wanted to get non-superwash because I've been enjoying working with non-superwash recently for the feel of it. The colors are more muted, and so I don't necessarily like how this is skeined up, though I think I'll still really like it when I have it worked because it'll be variegated. I think it'll still look really nice when it's variegated. I was thinking I might make a hat or a cowl or something, though in the skein, I think I liked the superwash yarn better. But this is what I purchased. Yeah, I think I'll like it a lot more when it's worked up, or maybe I'll just cake it up to kind of see the vision and make me feel a little better because I'm like, nah, I'm not sure about this one, but I think it'll turn out really, really good and will be the perfect vibe for the autumn months once it's all worked up. Maybe it's because it's like color blocks up here, and so I'm not like necessarily liking that, but down here, the colors are more like blended together. See, and you can't judge a skein by how it's skeined up, or even how it's caked up, or even how it's worked up in a single project, because your project will be different. You'll have a different gauge. You might do something with a bigger circumference, or you might knit something flat. Like, there's so many factors, and so don't judge a skein by the way that it's skeined. So I'm trying to tell myself that. I think that it'll turn out really, really nice in like a moody, soft autumn type of color palette. So I think that this will be really nice. Hat? Maybe? Maybe hat? Maybe cowl? I'm not sure. Can I just say, like, wow, so much yarn. I need to work on some things. I just finished a few projects, so I'm hoping to cast some things on. So maybe after I talk about yarn acquisitions, maybe I'll talk about a couple things I want to make soon that you can look out for in May. But we're still talking about acquisitions. Let's see, I went to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair, which I mentioned. I'm going to have a vlog and I'll talk more about these yarns specifically, as well as show kind of around the marketplace and the things that I did, and just a little bit about my experience. I wasn't there for a long time because I was just stopping by after a work event, but I'm still really glad I could go, and I wanted to share that with you because the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair was the very first yarn event that I ever went to. Back when I was just graduated from college. That was like 4 years ago. And look at where I am now. It's just really neat to see how my growth in the craft has been. So I wanted to just do a little sharing on the things that I purchased while I was there. We'll start from one side. This is Yarn Nouveau, which the very first skeins of yarn that I purchased from this Fiber Arts Fair 4 years ago were from Yarn Nouveau, though back then they were known as Hole in the Wool. I actually have it worked up here. This is the Kismet colorway, way back when they were known as something else. And look at all the colors of speckles, beautiful minty color. This is the Jack and Jill sock pattern. It's a crochet sock design. So yeah, now they are Yarn Nouveau and their colors are much moodier, a lot more tonals. I feel like it's so hard to capture on the camera, but I feel like the tonals have a lot more depth. Whereas, like, for example, if you look at this tonal, there's variety in the color, which is really beautiful, but the dye style of this one is very consistent in the color itself, but the color itself has some depth to it, which I really, really like. This is called Cinder. I purchased a new base. I really wanted to make sure I purchased from them, but it's called Yak Sock Base, which was kind of intriguing to me. It's a 70% superwash merino wool, 20% yak, and 10% nylon. So I thought it would be really fun to try. It had a really nice drape in the samples that they had in their booth, but I really wanted to give it a try for like socks or something more durable and kind of see how it wears. So now I'm kicking myself because there's so many cool like a moon crush tee that I could have made. They had so many beautiful colors. I had such a hard time picking which color. I could have just grabbed like 3 colors and made a moon crush tee or something. But no, instead I deliberated, and then this is what I picked, which I don't regret, but I wish I got more. But I really, really like this, and I really, really like the color story of their booth and kind of where they've taken their business. I think that they're really true to their branding, and it's really impressive to see kind of where they've come. I also bought a similar color palette. This is called, let's see, this is from Snowdrift Alpacas, which is from Montana. And it is, again, a sock blend, 70% alpaca and 30% nylon. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a ton of fuzz hanging off of it. This is a color called Fabulous. It is so soft. I want it so bad. I love the colors, very moody autumn. It's very soft, has all sorts of like alpaca hairs like hanging off of it. It's got quite the halo. I just really wanted to try a new sock base, new to me sock base. So we'll see how that goes. Probably not for a little while because it's very fall color palette wise, but I have those on the docket so that hopefully I can make some socks and kind of try out how that base is, how I like that base. I also got Yarnaceous fibers. I knew that they were going to be there, so I wanted to make sure and stop by their booth. And again, I had such a hard time choosing what to buy because I wanted it all, and some of them have really, really funny names. Like there was one about like a meteor, I don't know, like very dinosaur themed, which is really fun. This is the Salta Fingering sock set. It's an 85-15 superwash merino and nylon blend. And the color is called Great Basin Spring, and it was exclusive to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair. So I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this color. I picked up, I was like, I definitely want to buy this. And then I saw it was exclusive and I was like, I need to buy this now so it doesn't go out of stock. sock? So I did, and I love it. So pretty. I also knew that Yarn Cafe Creations and Dragon Horde Yarn would be there. I purchased from Yarn Cafe Creations. I didn't find anything from Dragon Horde that I really wanted to buy. I tried to limit myself. It doesn't look like it, but I had to really hold back. But from Yarn Cafe Creations, I bought a mini set. This is from their Earthy Collection mini set. This is the Sagebrush set. So it's got all sorts of really fun, like, deserty plants. So it's got, let's see, sagebrush, prickly pear, aloe vera, serpentine. Really pretty faded set. I was thinking I might make a paint pan socks maybe? I'm not quite sure, but I really love these colors, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy the mini set. So I was looking at their full sock skeins, and every color I picked up was like prickly pear or sagebrush. It was all the colors that were in this set, and I couldn't decide, so I was like, I might as well just get the mini set so I can have a little bit of every color that was really eyeballing. So I got that, and it also came with a little bag, so this will be great for a sock project. Okay, last yarn specific purchase. This is from a new to me dyer that I loved their booth, so I definitely want to check out their shop again. I think they had a pre-order. I'm not sure if it's still open, but I'll link them down below, just like everyone else I've talked about. This is Witchfire Fibers. That's their logo. Old logo. Oh wow, these all have different logos. I think this is the new logo because they had stickers. Witchfire Fibers. Yeah, they've like upgraded through different labels, which is cool. So these are all like done at different times. But what I saw was this Summer Surrey base. The color is called Bullets and Blooms. It's beautiful, like pinks, purples, lavenders, mint greens. So beautiful, like stunning. I grabbed this and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna make, but I need to make something. I cannot leave this behind. So I grabbed this, and I was talking with the dyer, and she suggested a Bennett Sisters shawl, and I don't know if she'll watch this podcast, but for some reason when she said the Bennett Sisters shawl, I thought she was talking about the Bronte Sisters shawl, which they're by the same person, Lindsay Fowler, I think. Yes, I was totally right. Lindsay Fowler has made the Bennett Sisters shawl and the Bronte Sisters shawl, and when she said the Bennett Sisters shawl as like something to do with 2 skeins of fingering and 1 skein of like a lace weight, I was like, oh yeah, like I would love to do that. And I was thinking of the Bronte Sisters shawl, and I was like, man, like I just made the Find Your Fade, and it was like so much garter. I was so sick of it. And you know what? The Bennett Sisters shawl looks like it's garter, like all garter. So the dyer was very confused at what I was saying because I was confused at which pattern she was talking about. So that's my bad. I felt really silly afterwards when I realized, but I think that this will be way better than the Find Your Fade because the end will be much closer in sight. And I think that this color is so gorgeous. I'll just be so excited to work with it. I decided to hold it with sagebrush. I'm not sure if I'll make a Bennett Sister shawl, but I wanted to get enough yarn so that whatever I decide to do, I know I'll have enough. But this is like my pride and joy. I love this so much. I could have been completely happy just purchasing this and nothing else. And I love finding a new dyer, so that was really cool to be able to do that. Okay, last thing that I purchased from the yarn fair. What's cool about a yarn fair or fiber fair like that is that there's definitely yarn to purchase, but there's also things for like tatting and rug making, and there were stickers, which I purchased. I got this cute crow with the skinny yarn, and then a cat skein, so cute. And then in the package, they like threw in like a little llama and a little stitch marker with a pumpkin on it. So that was just something fun. I'm not sure where I'll put the stickers yet. I'm not sure, but they're really cute. They made me happy. Okay, I just want to share a couple projects besides what I'm already working on that I think I will start pretty soon, maybe cast on within this weekend or whatnot, so I can have them on my needles. I need to start my May Desert Vista Dyeworks pattern. I'm going to just make, like I said, I think I'll do DK weight socks. So I'll hold this yarn marled together. I have a pair that I made that way. I think it was last October using gradient gourds, and I love how they turned out. And I think that this color palette will also look really cool held like that. The color is called Ashes. So that's my plan. And then I have a natural mini to hold for like heels probably. I also am thinking, this is Malabrigo. The top one is called Neverland. The bottom one is called Tranquilo. And it's the Arroyo base, which is like a light DK base. And I think I'm gonna make some variation of like a Sophie shawl for my daughter. And I think what I've decided is I'm gonna do half and half, so that one half will be one color and the other half will be the other color. It seems like a really easy pattern. So just by looking at it, I think I might try to just like make something myself and kind of fudge it. Because honestly, there's just like an I-cord edging on it. And you just increase gradually and then decrease gradually. I don't quite know. I don't know if I want to pay for the pattern when it's such an easy pattern. But I'm sure that there are pieces in the pattern that are worth paying for, even if at first glance it looks like, oh, I could probably do something like that without a pattern. So I haven't quite decided if I'm going to buy a pattern or not. If you made the Sophie shawl, do you think I could make something similar without a pattern, or do you feel like it would be worth it to pay? And just to clarify, I'm not going to take the pattern from anyone else. Like if I'm going to have the pattern, I'm going to pay for it. Or I'm going to just take stuff from my brain and kind of decide, how much do I want to cast on? How I'm going to do this I-cord edging? How long am I going to go? Like all of it would come from me. Just me saying, I want to make something similar, and I'm just going to fudge it and see what happens. So I haven't quite decided about that one. I also think I'm going to start The Perfectionist Trap by Casey Knits. In these colors. This is by Kimber's Cozy Creations. The color is Unicorn Dreams 2.0. And I think that this would be a really fun pattern to have on the needles that I can just pick up and go and watch the beautiful variegated yarn come to life. But also the pattern itself is pretty easy with some garter and some slip stitches. So I feel like once I get it established that it would be pretty mindless, but really fun to work on. So that's another thing that I think I may want to wind up and cast on pretty soon. So those are like upcoming plans, I think. Okay, so let's talk about life stuff. Just kind of do a little update. This past month has been work. My husband was going through a really busy time in work, and I think we're kind of at the other side of it now. He still stays a little bit late occasionally, but he's coming home at better hours now, which makes things a lot easier for when I'm picking up Georgia from daycare, even if I've worked some of the day. Like it's just easier to not feel like he's gone until after bedtime every day that I'm picking Georgia up from daycare. So that's been really nice. We're still plugging away at watching Forge and Fire together. It's been a really nice thing to just sit down most evenings and watch an episode together. We haven't watched a lot recently because I had like a really busy week. So I work as a nurse, like I said. So I work ideally I'll work 3 12-hour shifts and occasionally like a 3 to 4 hour class to get up to 40 hours a week. But our weeks are from like Friday to Saturday. And so this past week I worked like 3 days from like Monday through Friday, and then I worked like Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. So it just didn't give me a lot of breaks. So I was working fairly frequently. It felt like I was working a lot. And again, yeah, I worked 3 nights in a row, so that was a lot. And then my daughter was sick. So was it Monday? No, it was Wednesday. I was finished driving home. I like stopped at the store to grab something really quick, and while I was there, I got a call from daycare that said that my daughter had a fever and I needed to go pick her up. So instead of going home to just sleep for like 6 hours, I had to go pick her up and then come home and then be a zombie on the couch after working a night shift, after working 3 night shifts in a row. And so we both took a nap in the afternoon because she was feeling sick and I was very tired. And then I just dozed on the couch after our nap while she watched some TV because I just could not do that. So that was like not ideal, but I made it through. So I know worst case scenario, I can do that again. And then let's talk about some books. I've been doing a lot of reading with traveling about an hour each way for work, getting lots of audiobooks in. And so I've been working on a lot. So let me share with you the things that I finished. I have a list over here. Big one. I finished Dune by Frank Herbert. I should really fact check myself before I film my podcast because I wrote down Frank Herbert and I wasn't sure as I was saying it if that was correct, so I had to double check, but it is Frank Herbert. So this book was published in like the 60s. It's a sci-fi. There's like a long series. There's like maybe 6 books written by Frank Herbert himself, and then there's some other like spin-offs written by his son, I think. Anyway, so Dune is the first book. It was like 21 hours to listen to. It was so long. I got about 75% of the way through and then I just petered out and I was like, I just need this book to be done. Like, I was really enjoying it, but it was just too long. I was like, no, I'm not enjoying that anymore. So I took a little break, came back to it and finished it. I also think I kind of ruined it for myself because I was looking at like the Wikipedia pages because I was curious about some things and now I regret it because after the first couple books, the series takes a very strange turn. If you've read Dune or any of the books in the Dune series, let me know if you feel like the God Emperor is like really weird because it's like a worm human. Anyway, that like totally threw me off and I was still reading the first book. And so I think that gave my reading the rest of it a little bit of a weird taste because I like knew where things were gonna go and it was a little weird. But I did really enjoy Dune. I feel like it had this really eerie feeling that was captured in the movie that came out. That's the reason why I wanted to finally read the book, was because I really loved that first movie. The second one is coming out later this year, so I'm really excited to see where that goes. I hope it doesn't get weird, but it's going to be the second half of the Dune book, and I heard the producers say that they would potentially do Dune Messiah, which is the second book in the series, but I don't think they'll do all like 6 or whatever because it does get really weird. And I guess that's the thing with like sci-fi is that like you can be very creative in like where your story goes, but I think that it went too far. Me personally, but I really enjoyed the book. It was just a long read, and so I kind of got sick of it and then got distracted and regret getting distracted by Wikipedia. I wish that I was innocent, but I did enjoy it and I did end up finishing it. I also feel like it ended really quickly with like the battle and fighting and then like the resolution of that book. It just felt really quick, to be honest, but that's just me. Another book I read, but this one was paperback, is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, and I also really enjoyed this book too. It felt a little slow in some parts, and I wish that one of the characters had been fleshed out a little bit more because I felt like their experience was really interesting to me and like they could have had more to it, but it was really cool to see the balance of like a historical fiction and like a contemporary fiction and how like they paralleled each other and how this person in contemporary fiction was learning about this historical fiction past. It was just really interesting. I really like the multiple narratives and the dual timeline. I just thought it was really cool. I really liked it. Sarah Penner has another book that just recently came out, Ladies Seance Society or something like that. I can't quite remember. I was looking for it at the bookstore and I didn't see it. I think I'm still gonna read it, but I think I'll do an audiobook and see how much I like it because I did enjoy The Lost Apothecary, but I'm trying really hard to purchase books I think I'll reread over and over again. So if I'm not sure how much I'll like a book, I'll listen on audio first, and then if I really want it in my collection, then I can go out and buy it. I also finished the Rokesbys series. So there are 4 books in the series. I had read 3 by the last podcast, and I read the 4th one this past month. The book is called First Comes a Scandal, and these books are by Julia Quinn. They are prequels to the Bridgerton series. The book starts out like with a bang. The girl, she's a Bridgerton, Georgie, she was like, they said kidnapped, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's another like crazy story. But really just like there was a suitor that like took her unchaperoned into his carriage and like kicked out the maid and like drove her away and like held her against her will, basically. So like it's still kidnapping, but it wasn't as like dramatic, but mostly just he wanted to back her into a corner so that he could marry her for her money, basically. Anyway, and that all happens in the first chapter. And so then the rest of the book was more like the aftermath of, and Georgie trying to make a decision on what she was going to do, and Nicholas Rokesby interacting with her and like kind of them butting heads a little bit, growing up as really good friends, but then like the obligation of marriage being thrown into it. I thought it was really interesting because I really do enjoy like the day-to-day life types of like social interactions of the Regency period, and this is a little bit prior to what we typically think of because it's like probably 1780s is when this book took place. I found it really interesting. I really liked it. I liked the characters' interactions. I feel like I wish there was a little bit more, but overall, I just really liked it. I wish I could have seen like their relationship grow a little bit more, but that's just me. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad to be done with that series. I know that Julia Quinn has other like series, like the Smythe Smith series, I think. I'm not sure if I want to read any more of the books at this time, but probably eventually I'll get to them. I also read, because of Natalie of Knitty Natty, she read A Spell for Trouble by Esme Addison. She read A Spell for Trouble by Esme Addison. Oh my gosh, I can't say it. Esme Addison. A Spell for Trouble by Esme Addison. And this is very much like a cozy paranormal mystery, but very cozy. Like if you've read, there's like a knitting murder mystery series. Let me look it up. So it's, I don't know what the series is called, but it's by Maggie Sefton, and I've read one book that I randomly found at the dollar store once. It was like book 16 or something crazy, so I had no context for like the characters necessarily, but the writing was just meh. It wasn't bad, but it felt like I was being told a story rather than like shown a story, if that makes sense. So like the writing quality felt kind of mediocre. The story was kind of interesting because it throws in like mermaids and witches and stuff, so there's like more going on than in a regular murder mystery. It was interesting enough that I wanted to see how it turned out, and there's a second book in the series that I already started, A Hex for Danger, that I already started. I'm just kind of meandering through the book slowly because I don't necessarily love it and like can't put it down. It's fine, it's all right. If you really enjoy that kind of like really cozy, really easy read type of murder mystery, and you like the idea of having something, you know, more magical as part of the story, then I think you'd enjoy this book. But I like something that's a little bit more intellectually written and a little less simple to read, just personally, in the things that I enjoy. Same thing with like, I started reading Finlay, Donovan is Killing It by Elle, Cosimano, which is kind of an interesting premise, but it's not really hooking me because the writing is a little bit simple, and also the main character is kind of vindictive for her ex-husband, and like that's not fun for me to read about. Maybe because I don't relate very much. I mean, I don't have a ex-husband, but like just in reacting that way to someone, I don't know. So I'm just like slowly meandering through those couple books, but the highlight, I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I loved this book so much. So I've read a couple Emily Henry books already, and I loved Book Lovers. I read it earlier this year, and it was just so good. I loved it so much. 5 stars for sure. I had heard really great things about Happy Place. It just came out and I just finished it. And what I really like about this book is that it did a lot of diving into relationships in general, relationships with friends, relationships with loved ones, relationships with family, and like the messy and hard parts of it, and seeing how like those relationships change and morph, and maybe sometimes they don't meet our expectations. So there were a lot of like really deeper themes with relationships that I found really fascinating. Basically, it's like a second chance romance between 2 friends that became lovers, and then after 8 years together, they broke up, and like all their friends are doing like one last hurrah of a trip. This book made me cry multiple times, like in a good way. It just made me feel so much. I really enjoyed Book Lovers, but like this book was so meaningful to me, even though it was like definitely a contemporary romance. There was just a lot more deeper things, and it made me really appreciate the relationships that I have. And I knew it was a second chance romance, but I honestly thought that they wouldn't end up getting together in the end. Maybe they parted ways, and that was better for everyone, to like save their relationship as friends. I don't know. So that kind of kept me on my toes to kind of see how things would end up as they were kind of learning about what the relationship had been and what the relationship was at that time, like post breakup, and where they thought it might go. It made me cry because even though I've never been engaged for years and then broken up over a 4-minute phone call, there were so many experiences by the main characters that felt so real to me. Their feelings of longing and loss. Like, I've had ex-boyfriends that, like, it hurt to think about them. I've had ex-boyfriends that if I saw them on campus, I would cry later on that day. People that I've purposefully avoided because I just didn't want to talk about it or I didn't want to see them. I've had times where, you know, some days are fine and some days I'm crying on my bathroom floor because of a boy, right? Like, I'm not sure if everyone's had experiences like that, but this book felt so, the feelings felt so real to me that even though I haven't lived the same kind of experiences as the main characters, I've had similar feelings. So it was so relatable. And so even though I'm in a happy marriage, this book brought me back to those feelings and it made me have so much empathy for the characters and it made me cry. So, and then I cried at the end. Yeah, it was so good. Like, this one definitely beat out Book Lovers because Book Lovers was really good and had a little bit of deeper themes. Similarly, in like that things change and evolve with like people going their separate ways, but it felt so much deeper. And like, I'm not in the mental space to read a really heavy book, but this book was like the right amount of like, made me feel things. It was so much more than just a contemporary romance novel, which was amazing. I really needed that. And like I said, it helped me be more appreciative of all the relationships I do have in my life and want to work towards maintaining them and strengthening them and like making sure people knew how much they matter to me, because it's easy to let life kind of put a wedge in between our relationships and that people's perceptions of the relationship can change based on how we're treating the relationship. And we all go through ups and downs. And our relationships always are changing, but it just, you know, made me more introspective about the state of my relationships that I have right now and making sure that I treasure those and making sure those other people know that I'm treasuring them, even if I'm in the midst of a hard time. If you've read Happy Place, let me know what you think, because I feel like no one in my periphery has read it. And it's like the deepest romance novel I've ever read. So I have so much to talk about. So on that note, wow, what a podcast. My phone is dying, so I need to plug it in. But thank you so much for joining me as I shared all the things that I've been working on this past month, all the new yarn goodies and the things I'm hoping to make soon, as well as some things I've been up to outside of Yarnie stuff. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you and the relationships that I have built with you here on this channel. Definitely make sure to follow me on Instagram at Crochet Creations and connect with me there too, because I really love having the ability to make some fiber friends online. I will come out with a vlog on my experience at the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair. Not sure when that'll happen, but sometime soon, so keep an eye out for that. And I also really want to put together a video talking about AAPI designers, both knitting and crochet, kind of like what I did for Black History Month in February. I want to do that for May because May is AAPI month, Asian American Pacific Islander. I might expand it to be beyond just American, you know, to include other nationalities too, with like Asian or Pacific Islander representation. We'll see kind of like what I find in my research, but that video should hopefully be coming out sometime this month as well to help celebrate those designers. So yeah, lots of big things coming. Until next time, happy making. Bye!